morning, boys and girls, and all of God's children. Welcome to the South District Church School neighborhood. I'm Sister Angie Spears, the excited South District Church School Superintendent, and our presiding elder is the Reverend Janet Jenkins Sturdivant of the South District of the Philadelphia Annual Conference. Again, we welcome you today. And what a wonderful greeting from Brother Keith. He's the husband of the Reverend Jaquita Wright Henderson of Mount Zion, Darby. What a wonderful day. Our key word for today is understanding. Understanding. And we're going to be, once again, in the book of Proverbs. We're going to be in the book of Proverbs for the entire month of June, because it's the perfect book for our quarter theme, which is many faces of wisdom. And Proverbs is filled with wisdom. Our topic for today is the value of wisdom. The value of wisdom. And we're going to be looking at Proverbs chapter 2, verses 1 through 11. So we want to realize how valuable wisdom is to us. It is more precious than money. Do you remember how we were saying that when King Solomon was a young king on the throne, he was very young when he took the throne, and God visited him and said, Solomon, what is it that you would like from God? What can I give you? And Solomon asked for wisdom. He couldn't have asked for anything better. And God was so pleased that he gave him wisdom, but then he gave him so many other things. So what we want to do today is understand the importance of wisdom. And if you look at let's take a look at our memory verse. It's Proverbs 2, verse 6. For the Lord gives wisdom. From his mouth comes knowledge, there's our key word, and understanding. Do you see who's giving the wisdom? It's coming from God. And we know that anything that comes from God is the absolute best. So in today's lesson, we're going to hear Solomon in this book of Proverbs telling us, go to God, ask for wisdom, and know that when you ask for it, he will give it to you. And it's going to be worth more to you than anything else. It's going to be more than if you had asked for money. Because we know we can ask for money, but then the money can get spent. Maybe not. And if we don't have wisdom, the money might get spent very badly. Am I right? It might be gone. Let's go straight to our word today. Proverbs chapter 2, verses 1 to 11. My son, if thou wilt receive my words and hide my commandments with thee, this is God speaking through wisdom, so that thou incline thine ear into wisdom and apply thine heart to understanding. Yea, if thou criest after knowledge and liftest up thy voice for understanding. Remember, look for wisdom, cry for knowledge, cry for understanding. If thou seekest her as silver and searchest for her as for hid treasures, then shalt thou understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. That's our memory verse. For the Lord giveth wisdom. Out of his mouth cometh knowledge and understanding. It's verse 6, that's our memory verse. For he layeth up wisdom for the righteous. He is a buckler to them that walk uprightly. So I just read verses 1 through 7. How exciting. How absolutely exciting. Do you see how they're all tied together? Wisdom, knowledge, understanding. And we are told to go to God to ask for wisdom, and he will give us wisdom. It's so important to get instructions from God. And as I was sharing this with Patches and Buttercup, they were telling me that they understood how important getting instructions is. From God, it's giving us the instructions so that we can live a life that's healthy and prosperous and safe. And both of Buttercup and Patches had gone to camp last summer. And they told me, what did you guys tell me? I think it was the same camp. That they got nuggets of valuable wisdom before going to camp. It was Buttercup who said that some of the instructions were, if you get by an insect or a snake, this is what you should do. That's very important, right? If one of your friends gets hurt, this is what you should do. This is what you shouldn't do, because there's a big swimming pool and maybe you would see a friend in distress. You're not to just go hop in there. You're to go and get an instructor. Make sure you have maybe a lifeguard or a safety device so that you can go in and help get that friend out of that water. With Patches, he said, his mother says, whatever you do, Patches, don't forget our phone number. Remember to brush your teeth. And if you call and it's an emergency and we're not available, don't forget to call Grandma and Grandpa. And then the mother said, and Patches, don't forget you're allergic to peanut butter. All good instructions. And why did the parents give them instructions? Because they wanted them to be safe. They wanted them to have a great time on the camp and come back to them safe. And that's what God is doing when he gives us wisdom. And the wisdom is there. All we have to do is take the time to pray and ask God for wisdom, seek wisdom, and read the book of Proverbs. It's already written out there, a note for us to be safe in life, to do the right things, to have wisdom. Another example, we talked about understanding and knowledge and following instructions. When we talked about instructions, it was Patches. Patches is the one who entered the contest, the science contest last year for the county, and he ended up winning. Well, he told me he understood how important instructions were. Before entering the contest, there was a 2-hour session at his school, and the kids from other schools came as well to learn the instructions for entering the test, the science contest. And it was very specific. And they said, if you don't listen to the instructions and follow, so we can listen to the word, but we have to follow, your whole application can be tossed out. And it was very specific, making certain that you put your city in the right block and your state in the right block. Sometimes they looked at the city and the city said Pennsylvania. We know Pennsylvania is the state. So they were saying, be very careful. There was another block and it said, how old are you going to be on the date of the contest? So if you put your current age, not thinking how old you might be when that contest came, that application could get tossed out. Great example. Very good example. And then the other example that Buttercup shared about following wisdom. Again, we know that wisdom comes from God. And we have a verse in the Bible, Proverbs 3:5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not into your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him and he will direct your paths. Well, Buttercup shared with me that one day, a couple years ago, he went to visit a cousin and he was able to go to the school with the cousin that day because it was a school day. I think one of the great aunts was sick and the family drove to see them. And they said, you know what, Buttercup, you can go to school with your cousin today. And as they were headed to school, Buttercup said, why are we going this way? Why can't we go this other way to get to the school? I could see the school there. And the cousin said, no, Buttercup, we have instructions. We always have to go this way. He says, as a matter of fact, I know some kids that went the other way. And guess what? They ran into a great big street. There were no crossing guards. It was dangerous. So the instructions that the school had given them of the best way that they should walk from their house to get to the school, it was filled with wisdom, and it was important to follow the wisdom. So I trust that as we read the book of Proverbs, that we will follow. We won't just read it. We will trust God and we will follow it because God wants us to be successful, to be happy, to be prosperous. Let's take a look at our memory verse today. It's Proverbs chapter 2, verse 6. Here we go. For the Lord gives wisdom. From his mouth comes knowledge and understanding. Can you do that with me? Let's see. For the gives, from his mouth comes knowledge and, can you fill that in with me? For the Lord gives wisdom. From his mouth comes knowledge and understanding. What a wonderful lesson. What a wonderful lesson. We trust that you will join us on next week. Again, we'll still be in the book of Proverbs. We're going to be looking at Proverbs chapter 8, and our lesson topic is receive wisdom's gifts. Receive wisdom's gifts. That's for next week. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a blessed week. Bye-bye.